Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India categorically rejects reference to Jammu and Kashmir in the EU-Pakistan joint communique, calls them unwarranted, says J&K and Ladakh are integral and inalienable parts of India. Clashes are still on in southern Lebanon despite Israel and the Hezbollah accepting a US plan for a partial ceasefire. The death toll in Russia's heavy overnight strikes on Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities climbs to 18. Moscow's defense ministry says it hit 10 military factories in Kyiv. And the United Nations urges the world to be ready for extreme heat risk and drought from El Nino. Now, reacting to the mention of Kashmir in Pakistan EU joint statement, India has categorically rejected such unwarranted references in the joint press communique on matters internal to India. Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal once again reiterated India's position that the Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh are integral and inalienable parts of India, and that those who have no local standi on such matters should desist from making any comments on them.
We categorically reject such unwarranted references in the joint press communique on matters internal to India. The Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh are integral and inalienable parts of India. Those who have no locus standi on such matters should desist from making any comment on them.
Venezuelan acting President Delcy Rodriguez will pay a working visit to India from the 3rd to the 7th of this month. During this visit, the Venezuelan leader will hold bilateral discussions with Prime Minister Narendra Modi covering the full spectrum of India-Venezuela relations, and they'll explore avenues for further cooperation in energy, trade, investment, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, transportation and renewable energy as well.
Excellency Ms. Delcy Rodriguez, acting President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, will pay a working visit to India from 3rd of June to 7th of June. We'll hold bilateral discussions with Prime Minister. The discussions will involve the full spectrum of India-Venezuela relations and explore avenues for further cooperation in the areas of energy, trade, investment, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, transportation and renewable energy.
And India has also reaffirmed its commitment to working closely with Bangladesh on issues related to shared rivers through established bilateral mechanisms.
We have several rivers, in fact 54 rivers that are shared between India and Bangladesh, and we have a joint rivers commission, a structured bilateral mechanism to deal with issues pertaining to all the rivers that we share between India and Bangladesh. We will also be looking at these issues as part of our structured bilateral collaboration that we have on the issue of water, on the issue of rivers.
South Africa's Deputy President Paul Mashatile is visiting India to strengthen bilateral cooperation and to give fresh impetus to India-South Africa ties. The visiting dignitary, along with his delegation, met External Affairs Minister Dr. S Jaishankar in New Delhi earlier today. Dr. Jaishankar appreciated the South African Deputy President's strong commitment to deepening long-standing partnership. The two leaders discussed opportunities in trade, investments, MSMEs, digital and infrastructure domains. They also agreed that India and South Africa must work closely in international forums such as the BRICS. The visiting South African Deputy President also called on Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan. Discussions were held on strengthening mutual economic cooperation, increasing industrial investments and expanding bilateral collaboration across the Global South and BRICS. And later this evening, the Deputy President of South Africa is scheduled to call on President Draupadi Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. The visit itinerary also includes engagements in Hyderabad before the delegation's departure on the 3rd of June. South African Deputy President arrived in India on Friday for a 6-day working visit. India and South Africa share a historic relationship rooted in shared struggles, cultural linkages and a common vision shaped by non-alignment and South-South cooperation. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar also met Minister President Mario Voigt of the German state of Thuringia and his delegation in New Delhi. The External Affairs Minister expressed appreciation for his strong support for expanding India-German and India-EU relations. Both the leaders discussed on business opportunities and technology partnerships. Let's shift focus now. And Russia has pounded cities across Ukraine with hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles early on Tuesday in attacks which authorities said killed 18 people and wounded more than 100. The attacks on cities including Kyiv and Dnipro followed Russian warnings of systematic strikes on the capital after a deadly drone attack on a dormitory in Ukraine's Russian-held region of Luhansk last month, which Kyiv denied carrying out. This was the third heavy assault on Kyiv in under a month. Russia has stepped up strikes on its neighbor as Washington focuses on Iran and US brokered talks on the war in Ukraine being stalled, with deadlock on the battlefield and Kyiv regularly hitting oil refineries in Russia. Russia had also struck 10 military production facilities in Kyiv and 3 recruitment centers for the Ukrainian armed forces. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Russia had fired 73 missiles and more than 600 drones in the overnight attack, and again urged Washington to send additional Patriot missile interceptors to replenish Kyiv's dwindling supplies. The Kremlin said on Tuesday the war had entered a new paradigm after what it called inhumane acts of terror by Ukraine's military against civilians. Moscow warned last week of systemic strikes and urged foreigners to leave Kyiv. And earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin accused Ukraine of committing crimes against civilians following drone strikes in Russian-controlled areas of eastern and southern Ukraine. Speaking at a meeting focused on the aftermath of the attacks, Putin said Kyiv had opened a new page in a series of crimes with strikes on a dormitory in Starobilsk, located in the Russian-held Luhansk Oblast region, and on an apartment building in Russian-controlled town of Henichesk.
We will discuss how assistance and support are being provided to the relatives of those killed and to those affected by the bloody crime that was committed by the Ukrainian junta on May 22 in the city of Starobilsk in the Luhansk region. It looks like by consciously committing the most serious crimes against children and teenagers at the Teachers College in Starobilsk and now in Henichesk, the Kyiv leadership has decided to open a new page in the series of their crimes, add a new attribute of the conflict itself. Well, it is their own choice.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin has said it still prefers to achieve its objectives in Ukraine through peaceful means, even as Russia continues its military campaign. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said Russia remains open to peace negotiations but would continue its military operation if Ukraine rejects what Moscow calls genuine peace talks. Moscow said the attacks were a response to a Ukrainian drone strike in Russian-controlled Luhansk last month, as an allegation that Kyiv denies.
As to the negotiation process, we have always said that despite all odds, the preferable option for us is the achievement of our goals in a peaceful way. Therefore, yes, we will achieve our goals, and we are ready to achieve them in a peaceful way. If not, if the other side will continue to drag the process out, reject the genuine peace talks and earnest decision which would open a path for peaceful solution, the special military operation will go on.
Israel has conducted strikes in southern Lebanon and Hezbollah has fired into northern Israel on Tuesday after US President Donald Trump announced an agreement to halt attacks that neither side has publicly accepted. According to Lebanon's authorities, Hezbollah would no longer fire into Israel under the agreement, while the Israeli military would cease striking southern Beirut, long a bastion of the Iran-backed militant group. The developments followed a dramatic escalation in violence that saw Israeli troops stage their deepest incursion into Lebanon in 2 decades, conducting waves of heavy bombardment and threatening to strike the South Beirut suburbs. The Israeli military said air defenses intercepted 2 projectiles which crossed from Lebanon into northern Israel hours after Trump's announcement. According to Lebanon's national news agency, Israel conducted fresh airstrikes on southern Lebanon on Tuesday. Now, this has happened when Iran is reviewing a proposed agreement with the United States to halt the war between the two countries. Iran's Mehr News reported on Tuesday after US President Donald Trump said talks to reach a deal were continuing. More than 3 months after the US and Israel launched strikes against Iran, the conflict has hardened into a stalemate, while largely indirect talks to negotiate an interim deal have proved to be inconclusive, leaving the Strait of Hormuz largely shut. According to the agency, Iran has not yet responded to a proposed final text of the temporary deal and was taking a stern approach given what it sees as a history of US non-compliance and long-standing mistrust. Trump said on Monday that negotiations with Iran were continuing and there would be a deal to extend the ceasefire and reopen the Strait of Hormuz over the next week. Since mid-March, Trump has repeatedly said he is close to signing a peace agreement. A ceasefire has largely held since early April, though Iran and the US have exchanged strikes several times over the past week. Meanwhile, oil prices fell more than 1% on Tuesday, pairing the previous day's sharp gains, though a senior International Energy Agency official warned that global oil inventories could hit historically low levels. Now, the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo continues to raise concern, even as health authorities report a significant reduction in suspected cases following investigations. According to the World Health Organization, Congo has recorded 321 confirmed cases and 48 deaths so far, while hundreds of previously suspected infections have now been ruled out. Meanwhile, the virus has also spread across the border into Uganda, where confirmed cases have risen to 15. Health officials say the new infections are linked to known contacts, underscoring the continuing challenge of containing the outbreak in the region. And India has issued a fresh Ebola advisory for travelers from West African nations. The Health Ministry has asserted that as on the 2nd of June, there are no cases of Ebola disease reported in the country. However, it is said that anyone who has traveled from or transited through an Ebola-affected country in the last 21 days and developed symptoms such as fever, headache, muscle pain, vomiting, diarrhea or unexplained bleeding, etc. to isolate themselves and inform local health authorities. People can also call the ministry's 24/7 health helpline, which is 1075 for information, guidance and assistance. Notably, early reporting can save lives and help prevent the spread of the disease. And India has also dispatched the second tranche of medical assistance to Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to help contain the severe Ebola outbreak in Congo and Uganda. The batch comprises of protective gear, diagnostic and monitoring equipment, medicines and supplements. India has expressed confidence that this 43-ton consignment will further strengthen public health preparedness and bolster Ebola response capacities across the African Union Commission. The World Meteorological Organization on Tuesday has warned of a possibly stronger El Nino weather pattern development with an 80 to 90% chance of forming between June and August and lasting until at least November. The phenomenon is expected to drive global temperatures higher and disrupt regional climates, bringing heavy rains to parts of South America, Africa and Central Asia, while causing drought in Australia, Central America and South Asia. Experts say this year's El Nino is particularly concerning because it coincides with a warmer climate baseline caused by greenhouse gas emissions, which have raised global temperatures by around 1.3 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times.
In some regions, it is likely we will see heavy rainfall and floods. In others, drought conditions. In others, increased or reduced extremes heat or tropical cyclone activity.
An Indian Meteorological Department Director, Neeta Gopal, has spoken exclusively with DD India. She said that the southwest monsoon is expected to hit the state of Kerala on the 4th of June morning. IMD director added that due to the El Nino effect, India will receive a below normal monsoon.
Monsoon is expected to reach Kerala on 4th of June. Right now, the wind pattern is changing over to monsoon-like conditions, and rains will start from tonight, 2nd June night, and it will continue for the coming 7 days. And all these 7 days, many districts of Kerala will be under orange warning, and rest of the districts will have yellow warning.
Ahead of World Environment Day, a special roundtable conference has been organized in Delhi under the joint auspices of the Indira Gandhi National Centre for the Arts and the Himalayan Environmental Studies and Conservation Organization. Environmental experts, legal specialists, sociologists, community leaders and representatives from various sectors participated in the conference. Environment experts, legal specialists, sociologists, community leaders were all there. A key highlight was the emphasis on the mandatory disclosure of the carbon footprint of all commercial products, including food, cosmetics and agricultural goods, highlighting the environmental impact associated with their production and use.
Just as we write the expiry date or the calorie count on our processed food packets, should we also write on them how much carbon is being emitted? What is the carbon footprint in this? If we write it like that, perhaps it will also bring awareness and consciousness.
When the carbon footprint is displayed, people will see the carbon footprint of their products and consume them accordingly. And each individual will contribute to reducing their part in that carbon footprint.
And let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the world. 2 French astronauts will fly to space next year under a new deal sealed between France and the US company VAST, with one set to remain aboard the world's first commercial space station. Under the deal, Thomas Pasquet and Arnaud Prost will embark on separate missions which will last around 2 weeks each. A late 19th century wine collection hidden for years beneath the chapel floor in the Czech Republic's Bekov Castle has been restored by a French winery and is now on public display. The 133 bottles, most dating from 1892 to 1899, were hidden at the end of the Second World War by the then owners of Bekov Castle. The wines will be displayed at the castle, former home of the Beaufort-Spontin family, who were labelled Nazi sympathizers. The underground train strikes have disrupted travel across London on Tuesday as drivers staged a 24-hour walkout in a dispute over proposed changes to working hours. Commuters crowded shelters and bus stops as rain hit the city, with packed services and delays on unaffected underground lines as travellers sought alternate routes. Further disruption is expected, with a similar action plan from Wednesday to Thursday. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. India to launch Producer Price Index, a new WPI series on the 15th of this month. And world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka overpassed Naomi Osaka to reach the quarterfinals of the French Open. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. President Draupadi Murmu on Tuesday interacted with tribal students benefiting from the Ministry of Tribal Affairs' flagship scholarship schemes at Rashtrapati Bhavan. The event brought together scholarship recipients from different parts of the country and showcased the impact of education initiatives aimed at empowering tribal communities. During the interaction, students shared their academic experiences and aspirations. Addressing the gathering, the President emphasized that education is a powerful instrument of empowerment and said education enables individuals to become self-reliant and capable.
शिक्षा सशक्तिकरण का महत्वपूर्ण साधन है। शिक्षा ही वो शक्ति है जो व्यक्ति को आत्मनिर्भर, जागरूक और सक्षम बनाती है। मेरी जीवन यात्रा में भी शिक्षा का ही अहम योगदान है। इसीलिए मैं जो भी जनजातीय समाज के लोगों से मिलती हूँ, उन्हें शिक्षा के महत्व को समझाने का प्रयास करती हूँ।
Now, amid the ongoing controversy surrounding CBSE's digital evaluation system, the centre has transferred the board's chairman and secretary and ordered an inquiry into the procurement of on-screen marking services. The move comes after weeks of scrutiny over CBSE's evaluation and post-result processes, which sparked concerns among students, parents and teachers across the country. A one-member committee has been constituted to inquire into matters relating to the procurement of services for the on-screen marking system by the CBSE. The committee will submit its report within a month to the Department of Personnel and Training. Now, marking a major update in India's price measurement framework, the government has approved the revision of the base year of the wholesale price index from 2011-12 to 2022-23 and will introduce a new set of producer price indices. The revised wholesale price index series and the new producer price indices will be released by the Office of Economic Advisor on the 15th of June. Alongside the revised WPI, the government will release the Output Producer Price Index, Trial Input Producer Price Index and Service Producer Price Index for 7 service sectors. The revised WPI series introduces several structural and methodological improvements. The number of items covered under the index has increased from 697 to 957, providing broader representation of economic activity. India has achieved a major engineering milestone with the successful breakthrough of the third mountain tunnel. The breakthrough in the Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train project at the Ambesari village in Palghar district, Maharashtra, marks rapid progress in high-speed rail section. The 3 mountain tunnels completed in Maharashtra within the last 5 months reflect rapid progress in one of the most technically challenging sections of India's first high-speed rail corridor. The newly completed mountain tunnel is designed to accommodate both up and down tracks of the bullet train corridor. Railways Minister Ashwini Vaishnav has expressed delight over the feat and shared a video of tunnel breakthroughs on social media. Let's now turn to sports. India will seek to clinch the 3-match T20I Women's Cricket Series when they face hosts England tonight at Taunton. In the opening match, Jemima Rodriguez and Yastika Bhatia helped India post a competitive score to secure a 38-run victory. However, India squandered their lead in the second game at Bristol, falling short by 26 runs. To secure the series, the visitors will need bigger contributions from their leadership duo, that's Harmanpreet Kaur and Smriti Mandhana. With the series locked at 1-1, a victory in this decider will also provide a massive momentum boost ahead of the Women's T20 World Cup starting the 12th of this month. And in French Open updates, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka passed one of her sternest tests yet in a pursuit of her maiden French Open crown, overpowering Naomi Osaka in a pulsating game to reach the quarterfinals of the clay court Grand Slam. Playing in the first women's night session match at Roland Garros in 3 years, Sabalenka recovered from a ragged opening to extend her remarkable consistency at the majors. She next takes on Russia's Diana Schneider, who shrugged off a second set blip to overcome American Madison Keys in another stunning upset of a major champion. Meanwhile, in the men's singles draw, Matteo Arnaldi survived a grueling marathon against Francis Tiafoe to secure a spot in the final 8. The Italian outlasted the American 19th seed, clinching a hard-fought victory after a demanding 5 hours and 26 minutes on court. With this win, Arnaldi has become one of the 3 Italian men to reach the quarterfinals, joining Flavio Cobolli and Matteo Berrettini. Tennis legend Serena Williams will make her long-anticipated competitive comeback at the age of 44 on grass courts of Queen's Club in London this month, having accepted a wildcard entry into the doubles draw. The 23-time Grand Slam singles champion last played on the WTA Tour in 2022 when she stepped away from professional tennis following a third-round defeat at the US Open. Williams re-entered the sport's anti-doping pool last year, sparking speculation that she was targeting Wimbledon for a potential return. Her former coach, Ricky Maci, noted she has been going all out in training to prepare for an earlier-than-expected comeback alongside her sister, Venus. Venus, who is 15 months older than Serena, is still active and competed at the Australian Open in January as a wildcard. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen, download the app. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.